All right, welcome back. So we are on step 3, which is creating overlapping boxes. So in our notes today, we're going to talk about different types of overlapping boxes, boxes above the vanishing point, boxes that go off the paper. So all kinds of different overlapping boxes. And by the time you finish your notes, it'll look something similar to this. And for your final, you're going to have to create 2 clusters above, 2 clusters on, and 2 clusters below. You might wonder what's a cluster? Well, a cluster is at least 2 overlapping boxes. So here's one cluster, here's another cluster, here's another cluster, here's another cluster. So we're gonna explore all different kinds of boxes, and by the end of this, again, you're gonna create 2 clusters above, 2 clusters below, and then 2 clusters going through the horizon. And if you notice, my notes, they don't have a cluster right here on the horizon. So let's go ahead and begin. You're gonna need a clean sheet of paper, and then you're gonna start off by writing in the top right-hand corner your first name, your last name, your period, whatever that may be. And this is notes number 3, which is overlapping boxes. So we're gonna go ahead and start off by creating a horizontal line going through the middle of your paper. Again, make sure that your triangle lines up with the edge of your paper. It's really gonna show today if you aren't making straight lines. I'm gonna create a vanishing point just in the center, and we're just gonna start making boxes. So I'm gonna start off by making a cluster down here below the horizon on the left-hand side. And we're gonna play around with different shaped boxes today. So I'm gonna go ahead by start making the vertical lines. And if you notice, I am going a little bit faster than in step 1, where you learned how to make them. And then I'm going to create 2 vertical lines. And I'm going to erase my excess. And then take all 3 points to the vanishing point, so the 3 closest points to the vanishing point. If you are the type of person that struggles with creating boxes, definitely stick to what I am currently drawing on my tutorial. And take the time to make sure each of these lines up. I'm gonna go ahead and cut off my box. This time it doesn't really matter how you cut off your box, it's totally up to you. So vertical cut followed by a horizontal cut. If your box looks crooked, it probably is crooked, so you'll need to fix that. Make sure you're drawing light so that you can erase all of your excess lines easily, especially with this activity where you're doing overlapping boxes. It's really important that you draw as light as you can. I'm only drawing dark just so you can see what I'm doing. Now, to create overlapping boxes, nothing changes. Like the steps that you do to make boxes, that does not change at all. What changes is what you end up erasing. So I'm going to go ahead and start to create an overlapping box. So you can start to vary up your lines. I know I always start off with 2 vertical, but this time I'm going to start off with 2 horizontal. It really doesn't matter if you start off with vertical or horizontal. So I started off with 2 horizontal. Now I'm going to do 2 vertical. I'm choosing to do a weird long rectangular box just because if you vary the different boxes, it's going to look a little more interesting. All right, so you'll notice there's a line going through here right now. I'm gonna just mentally tell myself that I want this box to go in front of my other box. So I am not gonna need this line. or this line right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and erase it now. What you choose to be in front and what you choose to be behind your box is entirely up to you. All right, so now I'm going to take the 3 closest points to the vanishing point. You can also erase whenever. You can erase at the end, you can erase at the beginning. And when you get to the point where you know where you want your box to be cut off, you don't have to draw all the way to the vanishing point anymore, but you do still need to line it up with a vanishing point. So I'm demonstrating that on this box where I am not drawing all the way to the vanishing point, but I'm still lining each point up very, very carefully. Just like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut off my box. I know I want it cut off right about here. So I'm making sure that my triangle is lined up with the edge of my paper. And I'm drawing in my horizontal line. I'm going to erase my excess. And I need my vertical cut on this side. And again, if you're the type that struggles with drawing, just copy and make the same boxes as I am. Erase my excess. Now earlier I said I wanted this box to be in front of that box. So knowing that, I am not going to see this line, I'm not going to see this line. I'm just looking at every single line to see if I'm going to see it. And then if I don't, I'm just going to erase it. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this line. And I'm going to go ahead and erase this line. Because we're working with solid objects here, we're not going to see that. So that is our first cluster. Now I'm going to go ahead and do one on the line. And eventually these are all kind of going to go into one another. So for this box, I'm going to have it go off the paper. So I'm going to imagine that my box is going to be right here, but I'm imagining it going off the paper. So I just need 2 horizontal lines now. And those are going to go off the paper. Don't forget to line up your triangle, especially for this step. So just imagine a box going off your paper. Because it's going through the horizon, I'm going to just take the 2 closest points to the vanishing point, like so. You'll notice that I did not draw all the way to the vanishing point because I kind of know where I want my box to end. And then I'm going to need a vertical cut. Erase my excess lines. Also erase the line, the horizon line going through your shape. You do not need that anymore. Make sure you are drawing light. Okay, and now we're going to do an overlapping box somewhere on top of this one. So I think I'm going to do a tall, skinny box kind of going through there. So I'm going to make sure my triangle is lined up with my edge of my paper. And I think I want my box to, let's see. I think I'm going to have it come right here. It's just going to be a really skinny, tall box. So I have 2 vertical lines, followed by 2 horizontal lines. I have a lot of excess on this one, so I'm going to go ahead and erase my lines. So I'm just erasing all the excess that I had. And then I'm going to take the 2 closest points to the vanishing point. And I think I want this box to kind of fall inside this other one. So I'm not going to go all the way to the vanishing point. I'm kind of going to end it somewhere right here. All right, now I'm just going to need a vertical cut. So I'm going to take my triangle, line it up with the edge of my paper, and I think I'm going to cut it about right here, and then erase my excess lines. Now you get to decide which box you want in front and which box you want behind. There's no right or wrong answer to that, but what you erase, there is a right and a wrong to that. So I'm going to decide to put this tall, skinny box in front. So I'm not going to see this line, and I'm not going to see this one because it's in front. And you want to check all of your lines. If something looks funky, there's probably something wrong with it. So just double check all your lines. There we go. So the next box that I do want to talk about is a special set of boxes. So when the boxes are directly above the vanishing point or directly below the vanishing point, you're only going to see the front and either the top or the bottom, depending on what you choose. So I did want to demonstrate that in these notes so that if you come across that, you'll know how to deal with it. So we're going to go ahead and create a set of boxes going directly above the vanishing point, just like so. So we have 2 vertical lines followed by 2 horizontal lines. And if you forget to connect your lines, just go ahead and take the triangle and draw that in. Make sure your triangle is lined up with the edge of your paper, because sometimes that does happen. I'm going to go ahead and finish the top part. Erase your excess lines if you have any. And we're going to take the 2 closest points to the vanishing point. This is a special funky box here. So I'm going to take this point and we're going to take it to the vanishing point. Just like that. And then you are gonna cut off your box. Now, if you noticed, I have like a little mistake here. You can either erase that. If you notice, I did not take it all the way to the vanishing point and I didn't meet up with that point. I'm gonna go ahead and erase it and just redraw it. So if you make a mistake in here, fix it. So let's try that again. So I'm going to take this point to the vanishing point. Just draw that in. Looks much better. All right, so to cut this box off, you have a horizontal line here, so it's going to need a horizontal cut. So I'm going to line up my triangle with the edge of my paper, draw my horizontal cut, and then go ahead and erase your excess lines. So I'm just erasing that excess. Just like that. Now to create an overlapping box, you can put a tiny box inside, and sometimes you don't even have to do any erasing. So to demonstrate that, I'm just going to do a miniature version of that box inside. So I'm just going to draw a tiny box. So start off with 2 vertical, followed by 2 horizontal. Just like that. Erase your excess. Take your points to the vanishing point. I know I want this to be a tiny mini box inside this box. So I'm just going to take the 2 closest points to the vanishing point, but I'm not going to draw all the way to the vanishing point. I'm just going to draw a little bit. You still have to line it up to the vanishing point. Just like that, and then I'm going to cut my box off. And if you don't line up your triangle with the edge of your paper, it's really gonna show on your work. So because I have this tiny little box inside this bigger box, I'm gonna say I want this to be in front. If it was behind, we wouldn't even see it and it would have been pointless to draw it anyways. So that's how you do boxes directly above the vanishing point. If you're wondering what that would look like below the vanishing point, all you have to do is turn your paper upside down, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and do boxes over here. By now you should feel pretty comfortable with making boxes, so that is why I'm going just a little bit faster than I did in my my first exercise, I should say. So 2 vertical lines, 2 horizontal lines, and again, I am varying my size, meaning I'm making them different shapes and sizes here. Some of them are long, skinny rectangles, some are a little bit thicker. Erase my excess lines. And I'm going to take my 3 closest points to the vanishing point. You'll notice this box here is super close to the horizon line, so the bottom of the box is going to look really skinny. And that is okay. Just be as accurate as you can. And if you mess up, just erase your mistake. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cut my box off now. So I'm going to take my triangle, line it up with the edge of my paper, cut it off here, and then I'm going to need a horizontal cut here, so I'm making sure I take the time to line this one up, especially because it's super teeny tiny and thin. You don't want to draw these in by hand because it will show and it's usually not accurate. Go ahead and erase my excess. Make sure you're drawing light. It's easier to erase lightly drawn work than it is if you're heavy-handed. All right, we're gonna go ahead and draw an overlapping box in front of this box. So I'm gonna go ahead and just draw a regular box. So I'm gonna start off with 2 horizontal lines now. And like I said earlier, it doesn't matter if you're starting off with horizontal or vertical, you just gotta make sure that they are straight. Go ahead and erase my excess lines. You can erase now or later, it really doesn't matter. Some people like to erase as they go. I'm going to take the 3 closest points to the vanishing point. I'm going to tell myself I want this box to kind of be inside this one. So I'm just going to stop my drawing close to the insides. And if you don't know, just take it all the way to the vanishing point when in doubt. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut off my box. So I'm going to need a horizontal cut on this side. And then, or sorry, a vertical cut on this side, and then a horizontal cut on this side. And erase your excess. Now I decided that I wanted this box in front of my other box. So I gotta look at all the lines going through that box and say if I need it or not. So do I need this? No. Do I need this? No. Am I gonna see this one? No. Am I gonna see this one? No. So I'm just gonna go ahead and erase all the lines that I would not see. And then we're gonna do a cluster below and then one more on the horizon. So we are almost done here. All right, so in this big area, we can go ahead and draw another box. And if you notice I'm varying my sizes, it just makes it look more interesting. If I wanted to fill a little more space, I could do a bigger box. So I'm gonna do a bigger box on this side here. And then I need 2 horizontal lines. And then all 3 points are gonna go to the vanishing point. So the 3 closest points going to the vanishing point. And again, if you know how long you want your box to be, you do not have to draw it all the way to the vanishing point. But you still need to line it up with your vanishing point, just like that. I'm gonna cut off my box, so I'm gonna do a vertical cut on this side, and then a horizontal cut on the other side. Now, if you make a mistake, just like I did, I went a little bit too far up, I can just erase my mistake and start over again. So I'm gonna take my triangle, line it up a little bit better, and cut it off, much better. And then erase my excess. I'm gonna do an overlapping box on top of this one now. So I am going to do 2 horizontal lines, followed by 2 vertical lines, make sure you are drawing light. I'm gonna erase my excess. And if you're the type of person that gets easily confused with this assignment, you can erase as you go. So I know I'm gonna want this box that I just drew in front of this other box, so I can just go ahead and erase the lines that I'm not gonna see. So you can either erase as you go, or you can erase once you get your box done. All right, so I'm gonna take all 3 of my closest points of my box to the vanishing point. You can make them as long or as short as you would like. You'll notice on this box, because it gets pretty close to the middle, the leftmost side is super teeny tiny and thin looking. And then I'm gonna go ahead and cut off my box. So I'm gonna need a horizontal cut on this side. Oops, I gotta make sure I line up my triangle with the edge of my paper here. Sometimes your paper might move, or your triangle might move last minute, so it's good to double check. And then I'm gonna need a vertical cut here. And then go ahead and erase your excess lines first. And it's good to do one box at a time when you're doing overlapping boxes. Otherwise, it might get a little confusing if you're trying to erase everything at the same time. All right, so I told you guys earlier I wanted this box in front. So I'm not gonna see this line. I'm not gonna see this line. So I'm gonna go ahead and erase my excess, because I'm not gonna see any of those lines at all. So just erasing them. There we go. So right now we have 2 clusters below, 2 clusters above, and we only have 1 cluster going through the horizon, and we only have these little spaces here. There are a couple different options. If you would like a challenge, you could try to draw a box and overlap multiple clusters together. But for this little note-taking exercise, we're just gonna make some tinier boxes going through the horizon, because this is just a beginner's activity. So for this one, I am going to go ahead and draw 2 vertical lines. And again, if you want to challenge yourself, you can. I'm just going to try to fit these boxes into the existing area that I currently have. And then I'm going to put 2 horizontal lines. Erase your excess. You can also erase the horizon line going through the middle of your paper. Take the 2 closest points to the vanishing point. You can cut it off wherever you would like. I think I'm going to cut mine off about right here with a vertical cut. Erase my excess lines. And then I noticed that I had a horizon line going through the middle of my shape. I can go ahead and erase that as well. We need an overlapping box on top of this, so I'm gonna go ahead and do an overlapping box. I'm gonna put one kind of going through here, but just maybe a little bit smaller. So I'm gonna take my triangle and I'm gonna do a thinner box. This one's gonna be super thin and super small compared to some of the other boxes I drew. Nothing changes, so your steps never change. And then I'm gonna draw 2 horizontal lines. And then the 2 closest points go to the vanishing point. And I'm gonna make this super shallow. So I'm taking this point to the vanishing point, and then I'm gonna do a horizontal cut. So the more you practice, the better this is going to seem to you, the easier it's gonna seem to you. I'm gonna erase my excess lines. I'm also gonna erase, because this box is in front of that box, I'm not gonna need this line at all. I'm not gonna see it, and I'm not gonna see this one either. So for your notes, you should have 2 clusters above, 2 clusters on, and 2 clusters below. I would strongly encourage you to try out a box directly above the vanishing point and boxes going off the page. So again, you have 2 above, 2 on, and 2 below, and that is exactly what you're going to be doing for your final assignment. So if you turn your paper over, you write your first name, your last name, your period, whatever that might be, and this is final number 3. And again, for your final copy, you need to have 2 clusters above, 2 on, and 2 below, and a cluster is 2 or more boxes overlapping one another. So if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email.